party in full swing. We scurried up the sidewalk, eager to get out of the chilly evening air. Several heads turned to us when we stepped inside. Hungry gazes from frat guys followed us as we made our way through the house. Heading straight for the kitchen, we found Michaela and Chelsea huddled around the island, where several bottles of liquor stood next to an array of mixes and 2-liter bottles of pop. Each of them held a red plastic cup in their hands. They squealed with delight when they spotted us and did that shuffle run women did when they wore super high heels. We hugged and they handed us each a cup. A guy I didn't know draped an arm across Michaela's shoulders, while a second man I recognized from the football team leaned against the counter and pulled Chelsea into his side. We talked to our friends for a while as we sipped our drinks. When our cups were empty, they quickly refilled and Danny and I decided to make the rounds. We managed to score a couple seats in the front room. It was the farthest away from the source of the blaring music, so we were able to hear each other talk. We were laughing with a couple of the fraternity brothers when the door opened, letting in a cool gust of wind along with 3 guys who looked like they'd gotten lost. The laughter fell from my lips when a familiar blonde head popped into the foyer. Shit. What was he doing here? This wasn't his scene. He didn't lower himself by going to frat parties. Isn't that your ex? Danny asked, leaning into me. Yep, I answered, and drained the rest of my drink. The trio turned the other way and walked into the opposite side of the house, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Hopefully, I could avoid him. It was a big house, and this party was packed. I could totally get by without running into him. I was so wrong. After 2 full cups of whatever concoction my friends made, I needed a restroom. The room swayed ever so slightly as I stood and made my way up the stairs, cautiously gripping the rail so I wouldn't fall. Once I was finished in the restroom, I washed my hands and checked my reflection in the mirror. After applying a layer of lip gloss, I pushed through the door. Some of the bedroom doors were closed, but most were open. There were guys playing a video game in one end and a couple making out hot and heavy in another. I giggled as I walked past them and toward the stairway. The steps creaked and groaned as someone ascended, and I stopped dead in my tracks when I saw who it was. A slow smile curved Chad's lips. "Delilah," he crooned. "I didn't know you would be here." I got the impression he knew full well I'd be at this party, and that was the only reason he was here. He never came to these before, practically turning his nose up at the prospect. That was why I quit going. He made me feel trashy for wanting to hang out with my friends and drink cheap beer like every other college student in the U.S., so I stopped. I only attended cocktail hours at fancy hotels or country clubs while I dated him. Those days were long over. I was a typical college kid, not his arm candy. "Didn't you?" I challenged, crossing my arms. He paused, deliberating how he should answer. His lips quirked in a charmingly crooked smile, the one that won me over the first time he asked me out, and his signature dimples dented his cheeks as he looked at me from beneath his lashes. "Honestly?" he asked, and I nodded. "I wasn't sure you'd be here, but I hoped you'd come. I've really missed you." I shook my head and opened my mouth to respond, but he held up his hands. "I know I messed up," he admitted, his expression morphing into one of regret. "I don't blame you for breaking things off. I came on way too strong and I kinda lost my head a little bit," he continued, shaking away the memory. "I was hoping we could at least be friends. I miss having you in my life." Unease crawled up my spine, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. He didn't want my friendship. That I was certain of, but his calm, rational demeanor was setting off warning bells. I needed to get away from him and fast. I sighed and straightened my shoulders. He wasn't going to like my answer. That's not a good idea. Our relationship became toxic and unhealthy.